Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. A quick shout out to my newest patron, Mo P. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. I'd also like to highlight that today's intro idea came compliments of my wife. Over the weekend, many of you have seen Tesla completed one of the last major hurdles before it can actually deploy the Cybercab in Austin. The first responder guides for the Cybercab are now live, and further, this guide for Tesla's Cybercab is now officially on the Texas Department of Public Safety website. So really at this point, the only thing left for Tesla to do is to validate the software and the hardware. And one thing to note, there was a few weeks between the time when Tesla uploaded the Model Y first responder guide and when Tesla deployed the Model Y as a robotaxi in Austin. However, that was to launch the service, so now that Tesla's been operating for over a year, we might have a shorter time frame between these documents becoming official and a Cybercab being deployed. But yes, it could absolutely still be a few weeks of waiting. But we do have Herbert saying a big announcement is coming from Tesla on Tuesday, July 7th.
All right, so in a week from Tuesday, there'll be some cool news about things happening on the campus at Texas, and I can't talk about it right now, but it's part of the scaling efforts.
So listen, naturally, everybody's mind goes to something with the Cybercab, but from this post alone, this could be any number of things. But yes, with that disclaimer out there, I'm expecting this to be about the Cybercab. Joe Tetmeyer said Cybercabs also continue testing on the track, with recent views showing the Cybercabs with the Cybercab logos are being driven fully autonomously. And some more evidence from Adon Guajardo. He caught the Cybercab at the test track in Giga Austin with no steering wheel and the safety monitor on the passenger side. There's also a rumor out there that I believe originated from Kobe Pierce. He said, I have a very reputable source saying mid to late July for Cybercab launch in Houston. He also said a service expansion area in Houston is expected soon. The sources did not give a time frame, but they did mention two distinct areas. One area could include NRG Stadium and George Bush Intercontinental Airport. But importantly, they did not specify if the airport will be a location they can operate at or if it'll just be in the geofence. And he said, based on these reports, I do think the service area will be roughly 50% larger than Waymo's current service area and look like this image. So yes, very speculative at this point, but given the comment from Lars, I think we should be expecting something pretty exciting. But arguably, most importantly, he said it would likely be right before the earnings call, which is set to be held July 22nd. Many of you will remember a video right before Tesla's Q1 earnings when they decided to launch seemingly quickly in Dallas and Houston with one vehicle at the time. I said if Tesla doesn't end up scaling to 5, 10, 15, 20 vehicles over the next few weeks, that announcement was likely done to have some momentum and a positive talking point for the Q1 earnings. And of course, in the slide deck, Tesla called that out very clearly. We launched unsupervised rides in both Dallas and Houston in April. But as we now know, since that time, the service in those two cities has been very limited, sometimes not available at all. So we have to remember, even if we do get a nice announcement about a big service area expansion in Houston, will that be paired with a significant increase in the fleet size in Houston? Or if it's something like Cybercab being deployed in Austin, will it be one vehicle or 10? I just think based on what we've seen to date, when the Cybercab is deployed, it will be at a number under 10 for at least a week, if not a few weeks. So it will be an awesome milestone when it happens, but I think we still have some time before we see any type of scale. Then in Phoenix, where frankly I thought Tesla would have launched their robotaxi service by now, David Moss did share a video showing a material number of Cybercabs in the staging lot in Phoenix, along with many Model Ys that do have the camera cleaning housings. However, over the weekend, something big changed as we can now see these Cybercabs do not have the Cybercab decal on the side of the car or on the trunk. And you'll see why that's important shortly. But back in Austin, Tesla does now have 84 vehicles officially registered for the robotaxi service. As you can see on my robotaxi dashboard, Tesla added another 15 vehicles on June 27th. And that was Saturday. But unfortunately, tomorrow, Tuesday, the last day of June, is the last day of the first half of the year, meaning if Tesla doesn't launch in Phoenix, Miami, Orlando, Tampa, and Las Vegas tomorrow, well, then they will have missed the deadline they put in the shareholder deck. Now, in fairness to Tesla, I do think it's important to point out Tesla had the first half of 2026 in the Q4 slide deck, which was uploaded toward the end of January this year. But then in the Q1 slide deck, which was uploaded uploaded in April of this year, Tesla changed those dates to preparations underway for those 5 new cities. So it's been a while, but just a reminder that downshift from Tesla should have been a sign that Tesla was not going to hit the first half of this year for those 5 new cities. And as I've said, to me, it seems pretty clear during that time when these timelines changed, Tesla saw something that it really liked with internal testing of V15, and at that point just decided to slow things down until that model was ready for a public release. But despite that, the Cybercab stockpiling continues, as S.E. Robinson told us there were 78 Cybercabs in Houston this over the weekend. But once again, you will see these Cybercabs do not have the Cybercab decal. And this image was shared on Reddit over the weekend of the lot in Dallas with dozens and dozens of Cybercabs. Once again, none with the Cybercab decals. And from this view, one with a Starlink terminal. There was a somewhat alarming string of facts in Delete Me's most recent privacy report. Apparently, folks are already getting unwanted deliveries at home addresses, photos of their home are being sent in emails, and texts from strangers are now referencing personal details they've never shared. And this is part of why I'm so adamant about recommending Delete Me, the sponsor of this video. So not to be an alarmist, I just want everybody to be aware of what's happening. And so data privacy is no longer just about scams, it can now be about physical safety too. And sadly, this is happening right now to regular people, and it usually starts the same way. Somebody Googles you, they land on a people search site, and within a few seconds they have your home address, phone number, relatives, age, even your past addresses. It's just reality. If you don't do anything about this, the barrier is just that, 10 seconds and a Google search. And I've worked with Delete Me now for years. I know they take this seriously, it's all they do, and they'll remove your personal information from over 750 people search sites every quarter automatically. And remember, these sites often link your family's profiles together, but the good news is Delete Me can be extended to cover your spouse, parents, and kids at a discount. I just got my 16th report. Last quarter alone, Delete Me reviewed over 1,800 listings on my behalf, found my information on 6 different people search sites, and submitted removals to all of them. Across the work they've done, they've saved me about 160 hours that I would have had to spend fighting these sites myself, and for me, the peace of mind alone is worth it. So if you'd like to support Electrified and protect the people you love, head to joindeleteme.com/electrified to get 20% off using my code Electrified linked below, or by using the QR code on the screen. And the reason I keep bringing up those decals is in the first responder guide, we learned Cybercabs in service with Robotaxi have the Cybercab word mark on the sides and trunk lid of the vehicle. And the documentation said the Cybercab is not typically equipped with a steering wheel or acceleration and brake pedals, which is why I said this typically is continuing to give Farzad life. But unfortunately for Farzad, later in the document it says to facilitate testing and validation of safety systems, a number of Cybercabs are equipped with hardware for manual operations like a steering wheel and pedals for acceleration and braking. And they called out for these test vehicles, it is a steer-by-wire steering wheel, but there will still be questions about if those vehicles will be converted for deployment, because in the test vehicles, the front airbag for the driver's side is moved inside the steering wheel. So if that's taken out, that airbag would need to be replaced like the regular production variant. And there is additional low voltage cabling to support the steering wheel and the airbag, and additional support structures for the steering column. But regardless, the word from Bradford at Rebellionaire is that they saw Tesla remove these test vehicle additions to convert them to the production version out in the field. I did read through the documents, just a few other things of note. You can speak directly through the two-way speakers on the B-pillars of the Cybercab. And here's the photo where it says the driver's side exterior microphone, the passenger side microphone is similarly situated. Also interesting was the charging. Of course, they list the charge port in the rear driver's side as we've known, but there is nothing in here about wireless charging. And to be clear, there was nothing about receivers or coils or any underbody hardware to enable wireless charging on these vehicles. So keep that in mind, as that might be a great question for the Q2 call. all. Tesla did say months ago they had wireless charging well over 90% efficiency, but so far no sign of it anywhere for the Cybercab. Back to the guide, the Cybercab is designed to disengage autonomous movement and park when a seatbelt becomes unbuckled if there's a passenger, and or if a cabin door opens and remains open. The Cybercab is not equipped with a prop rod for the hood. You'll see in the production version without the wheel there are 10 airbags, 5 on either side. There are stored gas inflators that are outlined in red in this image, which are located near the roof and toward the front of the vehicle, and there's an additional pressurized air canister located between the rear wheels. Just know the gas inflators are for the airbags, and the air canister and those pressurized hoses throughout the vehicle are likely for the camera cleaning system. The Cybercab has an active hood pedestrian protection system that can detect an impact with the pedestrian while the vehicle's moving between about 15 and 32 miles per hour. When triggered, pyrotechnic actuators raise the rear portion of the hood to increase the space between the hood and the components beneath it. The button to open the Cybercab doors is right below the B-pillar cameras, and Tesla did decide to put the window switches right underneath the touchscreen. In some earlier prototypes, they had those buttons down on the seat by the cup holders. And I have to say, one of the things I'm most interested to see is the crash test data, because the Cybercab is such a small vehicle, it's just hard not to think about if in the unfortunate event of an accident, how will it hold up? And of course, I'm incredibly confident in Tesla's safety engineering team. And in this document, they told us the A and B pillars and door rings of the Cybercab are made of ultra high strength reinforced steel. The overhead rail is constructed of high strength steel. All other vehicle structures and body components are made up of various strengths of steel or aluminum. The exterior panels are plastic, with some areas reinforced with glass fiber. It said the windshield on the Cybercab is made of laminated safety glass. The windows on the side are made of tempered safety glass, and then the B-pillar applique is plastic and does not provide access to the cabin. And a lot of these diagrams in the document, like for the high voltage components, really showed off the beauty of the simplicity of the design of this vehicle. And yes, the Cybercab is officially a 400 volt high voltage battery. And important to note, the high voltage battery enclosure is the floor of the cabin. There is no floor pan between the cabin and the high voltage battery enclosure. The enclosure just has a thin layer of high strength steel. So no, we don't get 800 volts for the high voltage on the Cybercab, but we do get the new and upgraded 48 volt low voltage system. Basically, the wiring and efficiency gains you could get with 800 volts are not really worth it on such a small lightweight vehicle like the Cybercab. And Tesla told us in the past, the Model 3 and Y, the high volume producers, will remain on 400 volts, which means that mature and cost-effective supply chain is already in place. 800 volt components cost more, but it's worth it on a vehicle like the Cybertruck, just not the Cybercab. The Cybercab will not be nearly as reliant on fast charging as the Cybertruck, because these Cybercabs will be charging at depots, and in time, Tesla can produce and deploy as many Cybercabs as it wants, while the others can take their time to charge, which should be better for battery longevity and things of that nature. And years ago, Elon and Drew Baglino said that 800 volt architecture would have basically no benefit for small vehicles like the Cybercab. But rather than focusing on that, I think the great news is that it will be on the 48 volt low voltage architecture, which will unlock all of those same ether loop gains that we've talked about when it comes to the Cybertruck. Back to the guide, they said the Cybercab is equipped with infrared webbing on the seat belts for visibility of passengers at night or in the dark. They said the motor in the Cybercab can generate power when the wheels spin, so always transport, meaning if you tow the Cybercab with all 4 tires off the ground. Ensure that the tires are unable to spin at any time during transport. And the tow strap is located behind the front license plate. As you would expect, the wheel covers do pop right off if you need to access the lug nuts or the tire valve. And Tesla did say it can remotely establish a temporary geofence that blocks off robotaxi service within 1,000 feet of the location for approximately 1 hour, unless the duration is specified by the requester. And they said the Cybercab is designed to respond to clearly visible hand signals from first responders and can follow pathways designated by cones. And over the weekend, DJ shared this very impressive video of FSD doing exactly that. Here, the police officer was in the middle of the intersection, the light turned green, but but the Tesla stayed still until the police officer waved the Tesla on, and then it proceeded through the intersection. And if you look closely, the vehicle actually started moving slightly before the police officer waved the car on, almost like the car knew the officer was about to be out of the way. And Tesla said the Cybercab ODD includes all public roadways, including the freeways, highways, city streets, and rural roads, as well as private roadways and service stations like parking lots, charging stations, car washes, and parking garages. The Cybercab can operate autonomously at all times of day and night, and under light and moderate precipitation like rain, fog, and snow. And one more for Farzad, it said a Cybercab equipped with a steering wheel, brake pedal, and acceleration pedal is typically an engineering or test vehicle and operates at SAE Level 2 autonomy. But again, breathing life is that word typically. And with Tesla stock up over 8% today, we have to change the lights to green. And the Nasdaq was only up 2%, so this was a meaningful outperformance by Tesla stock. And sure, maybe the market's pricing in a Q2 delivery beat, maybe the market's getting excited about the announcement from Lars, or the last major hurdle, at least for Austin, for Cybercab deployment being crossed off, that being the first responder guide, or it could just be derivatives and algorithmic trading, or it could be the fact that Ashok confirmed FSD V14 Lite is now rolling out to AI3 early access customers. Based on the feedback, it'll roll out to more customers over the next few weeks. The build distills the driving behavior from AI4's V14 series into both the camera and compute configuration of AI3. It includes destination options and speed profiles on city roads, but more importantly, significantly improved safety. So yes, Ashok and team beat the buzzer on the end of June deadline for this one. Elon congratulated the AI team and said the AI3 computer only has around 15% of the effective memory bandwidth of AI4, so this was a tough challenge. And why might this news have an impact on Tesla stock? Well, this is something that Wall Street can model. We've been talking for years about how FSD subscription adoption will be a needle mover because it's very margin accretive. And there's likely somewhere in the neighborhood of between 3 and 4 million vehicles equipped with hardware 3. Now, as of recording, there's likely less than 1% of these vehicles that have V14 Lite, but hopefully over the next few weeks, that number grows quickly. And there are some very early reviews out there, but if I'm being honest, this early group is not overly critical of the software, so we know that most of the time it's going to be great and should be a significant upgrade over version 12. Because yes, hardware 3 vehicles never got version 13. And right now it looks like V14 Lite will not be getting the Mad Max speed profile, the FSD stats app in the car UI, the FSD streak counters or celebrations, nor will it have that unified actually smart summon model. And it's TBD on things like automatically pulling over for emergency vehicles. But overall, the early reviews are very positive. We'll continue to watch over the next week and find the shortcomings. But this should be a huge upgrade for a massive portion of the Tesla fleet. And hopefully once this rolls wide, Tesla will run another free 30 days to let these people try the new model, with the hope that subscriptions would jump meaningfully. And lastly, I would say do not sleep on what this means for AI4. The fact that Tesla can distill so much into hardware 3, given all of those limitations, should be a reminder that Tesla's quantization team, taking these big models and making them run well, but much smaller, is definitely top tier. Because hardware 3 had other limitations. It was not just a memory problem. The chip was slower. The cameras were not as quality. And don't forget, hardware 3 is 7 years old, meaning a Tesla from the 2010s will very shortly here be able to run a very close to frontier model from Tesla, and hopefully, at least for a time, that will quiet some of the jerry-rig everythings of the world. And I'm not going to read through all of the release notes because we've been talking about and covering version 14, so many of them are just playing off of that, and in my opinion, nothing that needs broken down, but go ahead and pause or take a screenshot if you'd like to read through them. On X, Tesla said it will be arriving in Uruguay. Light vehicle sales in Uruguay are somewhere around 6,000 units per month, so we'll call it around 75,000 per year. But the good news is for 2025, the full BEV market share ended the year at about 20%, meaning roughly 13,500 BEVs. The national policies and incentives are very favorable toward EVs, but a challenge for Tesla, there are already some lower-priced Chinese EVs in the market. Over the weekend, NHTSA announced it closed its probe into Tesla vehicles over the power steering loss. This investigation that started in 2023 was upgraded to an engineering analysis, but early last year, Tesla did a air quotes recall via an OTA update to fix the problem, and Tesla said the recall was not in response to NHTSA's investigation. But NHTSA said in view of Tesla's recall, they're closing its engineering analysis. Just days after VW said it might lay off 100,000 employees and close 4 plants, it's now saying it plans to end its automated driving tie-up with auto supplier Bosch. This as part of a wider push to cut costs and boost competitiveness. The Bosch partnership was launched in 2022 with VW's software unit Cariad, and we have Bosch and Cariad now issuing a statement saying they do not comment on market rumors. But German reporting, citing internal sources, said this project had not met expectations after investing about $1.7 billion, and internal assessments found the technology was not yet competitive. VW plans to source hardware and software for such systems from a new partner. I won't be surprised if that's NVIDIA, but the right answer would be from Tesla. Some of you know I'm rooting for Slate Auto more and more by the day. I just wanted to highlight Monroe Live was seemingly very involved with the development of this vehicle and the platform. Monroe Live dropped a video with Slate over the weekend. That was by far the main takeaway. There are certainly no guarantees, but given that Monroe was involved, that does give me more confidence in Slate's ability to keep costs low and to make more good decisions than bad out of the gate. Today, we learned that Waymo robotaxis are no longer available on Uber's ride-hail app in Phoenix, this ending a 3-year partnership. But get this, Uber said it's readying the launch of a separate autonomous vehicle partnership in the city, but did not name the partner. And Waymo said the vehicles Uber used for this pilot program have already been integrated into its own Phoenix fleet, available through the Waymo app. For now, Waymo's vehicles are still available on the Uber network in Austin and Atlanta. We know Uber and Waymo are set to compete against each other in London later this year. And just know Phoenix was the only city where Waymo both operated as a standalone service and on the Uber network in the same city. So I think that setup was most likely going to be nothing more than a pilot all along. But naturally, given that Uber is announcing a new autonomous partner and the Tesla stock move today, there are people out there speculating that Tesla is going to be the announcement. And look, I could sit here for 5 or 10 minutes and point to reasons for why it would make sense, but I could also do the same thing for why it doesn't make sense, and I have in the past. If I had to guess, I would say the most likely partner is Lucid and Nuro. Lucid builds its vehicles out in Arizona. Lucid has been saying that production of its robotaxi is going to start operations later this year, and Uber has already committed to adding around 20,000 of these vehicles to its fleet over the next few years. And just this month, those 3 companies announced they'll be bringing the robotaxi service to Houston. Now, yes, I have my doubts that the Lucid and Nuro partnership is going to be ready anytime this year for any meaningful robotaxi operation, but I do think that's Uber's next partner in Phoenix. And I've already said it dozens of times, but I'll say it again, Tesla does not need Uber. Uber needs Tesla. Aaron Burnett said our estimates for Starlink capacity and revenue are among the most bullish in the industry. The more I dive into the AI compute side, the more I'm realizing we likely underestimated Cursor and Grok. That quoting a post from Shay Balor saying SpaceX is expected to approach $100 billion of revenue by 2028, which would make SpaceX one of the fastest scaling businesses in the world at this size. And remember, in 2025, SpaceX did just over $18.6 billion in revenue. But I'm sharing because Elon chimed in saying, I would be disappointed if SpaceX did not significantly exceed these milestones, which would be just under $37 billion in revenue this year, just over $68 billion for next year, and then right around $97 billion by 2028. And yes, Starlink will continue to grow. Maybe Starlink Mobile does launch, but everybody I talk to in real life seems to be completely overlooking these compute leasing deals. Now, we don't know how much capacity SpaceX has left to rent out right now, as Colossus 1 and a meaningful part of Colossus 2 are already taken. But we know they're not sitting still, and those type of deals can add dozens of billions of dollars to the annual revenue line with the stroke of a pen. Tesla stock closed the day at $411.84, up 8.46%. And SpaceX had a great day, closing at $164.19, up 7.15%. This while the NDX was up 2.25%. Don't forget, check out the Delete Me linked below for anybody interested in protecting your families both digitally and physically. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.